We are back for Thursday night football, a battle of the ages. We got the Washington Commanders, 1-4, up against the Chicago Bears. Gonna be a great one, guys. Looking forward to breaking down this Thursday night game with all of you. The Bears are 2-3 this season. Both these teams have really struggled offensively to start the season, but there could be points scored in this game because I think we're going to have more touchdowns, at least, than the last Thursday night game. The last Thursday night game was probably the worst game, but also one of the best games I've ever seen. I thought it was actually extremely entertaining. I think we're going to have another entertaining game tonight as well. We are going to be getting to as many start sits, rest of season, Waller or Higbee. I'd go Higbee, honestly. Higbee, number 3 tight end, I think, so far through the season. I think he's number 1 or number 2 in targets. I think I'd probably go Higbee over Waller, who's been dealing with injuries. Feels like already this whole season. Yeah, Higbee, number 7 tight end this season. But yeah, he does have the most targets. No tight end has more targets than Tyler Higbee through the first 2 seasons. Over Hammer. Yeah, Joe, I'm actually with you on this. You guys know I don't touch over and unders. I'm really all about the player props these days. I do have a prop I like tonight, but yeah, you should be hitting the over tonight, not the under. The line is just set so obnoxiously low, 38 points. I think is the line. Definitely, I would take the over, and it feels like the drop Sam a sub. Yeah, if the live subscription feature is out, I don't know if it's out for me yet or not, but if you can, definitely do that on the TikTok live. Just testing out that feature now, but the game is going to be a good one tonight. I do want to get to some trade questions really quickly before we get to some of these Thursday start sits. You can't see my must start, fringe start, must bench on the TikTok live. It's a not Thursday night question. All right. McCaffrey, non-PPR. I get mixed in Sutton for McCaffrey. Yeah, I think I would do that one. I think that's pretty fair. McCaffrey has been good this season, but the Panthers are so bad that is he that much better than Joe Mixon? Like, Sutton's really good. I think Sutton's going to be a top 10 receiver the rest of the season, so I think that was pretty fair. We got a lot of start sits to get through tonight, though, and there's going to be some good fantasy performances in this game. I'm telling you right now. I know last week was a rough one. Nyheim Hines, by the way, we did have him as a must bench last week. He got hurt in the first play. Hate to see that. Really, no players had a very good fantasy day because there was no touchdowns on Thursday night last week. Guys, there's going to be touchdowns tonight. There's going to be touchdowns tonight. It is extremely rare. Extremely rare. Usually, like, maybe 5 times across the entire NFL season, we'll see teams not score a touchdown throughout the entire game on both sides of the ball in the same game. I mean, like maybe less than 5 times. They're going to be both teams are going to score touchdowns tonight, and I actually like Justin Fields tonight. I've been encouraged by his rushing this season. Justin Fields has ran the ball at least 7 times every single game this season. He also had a 40-yard rushing touchdown called back off kind of a nonsense holding penalty or a blocking penalty. So he should have scored a 40-yard touchdown last week, and that would have put him inside the top 12 QBs last week. Guys, Justin Fields, who's the number 13 QB last week. Why? Because he had 47 rushing yards. And he finally threw a touchdown. He finally threw over 200 yards. His first game over 200 yards this season. He only threw the ball 21 times, though. You got to put it into context. When you guys think about this game and think about what to expect from the Bears. Guys, the Bears are right now, through the first 5 weeks of the season, the Chicago Bears have thrown the fewest passes ever in NFL history through the first 5 games of the season since 1988. It's been since 1988 we've seen a team throw this few passes in the first 5 weeks of the season. They're on pace to break the record for the fewest passes in the season. I mean, they're averaging under 18 passes per game this season, passing attempts. I mean, that's just absolutely insane. I do think we're going to see more than 20 passing attempts though this week from Justin Fields. This is why it's a slightly difficult team to project. Because how many passing attempts do you think the Bears will throw tonight? They're 1-point underdogs right now. They actually opened as 1-point favorites. Or when I looked yesterday, they were 1-point favorites. This game is in Chicago. I like the Bears in this game, by the way. I like the Bears straight up. I like them with the point, obviously. I think this could be a really, really close game, though, either way. All right, we got some Curtis Samuel questions. I guess I left him out. No, I didn't leave him out. Yeah, he's a must-start. Curtis Samuel is a must-start tonight. I think Terry McLaurin is also a must-start. And the big reason I think both these guys are must-starts is just looking at the Commanders' defense, which has not been very good in the secondary. listen to some of these performances from quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence had 275 passing yards. Jared Goff, 250. Jalen Hurts, 340. Cooper Rush, 220. Ryan Tannehill had the worst game yet, but he barely threw the ball. He had 181 yards still. They've allowed a passing touchdown every single game this season. And then you look at some of the receivers that have played against Washington. They've allowed the 5th most fantasy points per game to receivers this season. Christian Kirk had a very good day, 17 points. They've allowed at least 17 points in 4 out of their 5 games. Amon-Ra dropped a 40 bomb on them. Devontae Smith dropped a 30 bomb on them. CeeDee Lamb had 20 points. Thanks for the sub. By the way, I see some of these emotes. Falcons at WalterPicks. Love to see Riley in there. Very funny. I got to update those emotes for sure now that I see them in the TikTok live. But really, you got to start both these receivers tonight. Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, they both need to be started tonight. And obviously, there's 2 sides to every start sit, though. There's certainly situations where we're benching Curtis Samuel. I still personally have McLaurin ahead of Samuel in my weekly rankings and my rest of season rankings. It's really close. I think we had them extremely close. But I still would be playing McLaurin over Samuel tonight. I think the one guy that you kind of have to start is Dave Montgomery. He played back to his workhorse ways. That was actually a miss by me. I post a recap of the Sunday morning live every Tuesday morning. And one of my misses last week was David Montgomery. I thought he was a bench. I thought Khalil Herbert would be more involved. I still think Herbert will get some touches tonight. But David Montgomery last week, 77% snap share, 12 carries, 5 targets, 82 yards and a touchdown. He had one really, really big catch against the Vikings that made up most of his day. But yeah, David Montgomery's seeing 80% snap share instantly off the ankle injury. That's a great sign. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. Smash the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. Hit the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. And TikTok, we also just got TikTok live subs. And if you are a subscriber to the TikTok live, your comments will automatically get answered. So if you want an auto answer, hit the sub on the TikTok live. Thoughts on, do I start Samuel over Stevenson and Breece Hall? No, you don't do that. You don't do that. Even though they're must starts, you're not benching Breece. You're definitely not benching Mondre, guys. Mondre in the WalterPicks app right now, it's impossible to project Mondre under 100 yards this week. He's our number 2 running back this week in the running back rankings. Like Mondre is a top 5 play. Where's Bears defense? Yeah, so the Commanders are allowing, I think, top 3 most sacks in the NFL this season. It's a trend every year for whatever team Carson Wentz is on. The Bears defense hasn't been terrible this season, and their front seven's not that bad. I do like the Bears defense in this game. I think the Bears defense is definitely startable in this game. And this game does have a low over-under. I'm still taking the over, but it does have a low over-under. Right, Joey, let me get to your question here. B-Rob, Eno, Dylan, Hunt, rank them for me, full PPR. Yeah, so Brian Robinson, guys, he's starting tonight. And this is why you have to bench Antonio Gibson, and why I've been telling you for weeks to trade Antonio Gibson, because we just knew Brian Robinson was going to return. And before the season, he was the intended starting running back. And we're going to see it tonight, guys. Brian Robinson's going to be out there for the very first snap. He's going to lead his backfield in touches. But you can't really trust Brian Robinson that much tonight either, because Gibson will still play. And we know McKissick's still taking the pass-catching work. And we also know this is going to be probably a slightly low-scoring game. So I think he's more of a fringe star, Brian Robinson. I would not start him over Benjamin in a great spot against the Seahawks. James Conner got ruled out today already. That's huge for Benjamin. That makes him a top 15 play. So I'm definitely playing in almost every single spot this week. And the A.J. Dillon versus Kareem Hunt, man. Yeah, that was close. I don't think I'd play Brian Robinson over either Dillon or Hunt, though. I think I would probably bench Brian Robinson for both those guys. So, Brian Robinson, he's projected around 50 yards tonight. Not terrible. Not terrible. Thank you for the gift in the TikTok live. Fields or Garoppolo? I'm playing Fields over Garoppolo. I'm playing Fields over Russ. If you see the last video I just posted, I have Fields as a must start. That's obviously going to get a lot of pushback. But you got to understand who I'm starting him over. I'm starting him over Russ. 100% I'm starting him over Russ. I have some teams with Derek Carr. He's on bye this week. So I think Fields is a top 12 option this week, in my opinion. There's 6 or 7 QBs that I would definitely start over him. Maybe 8 quarterbacks. I'm for sure starting over Justin Fields. But yeah, I'm starting in one of my high-stakes leagues. I am starting Justin Fields over Russell Wilson. And again, it's the rushing for me. The floor is actually really good for Fields if he's going to keep running this much. He has at least 7 rushing attempts in every single game this season. He has at least 8 in 4 out of his 5 games. And last week he scored a 40-yard rushing touchdown that was called back for a block in the back, I think, that had nothing to do with the play. So yeah, here's the QBs I'm starting over Justin Fields. Just for all the Justin Fields people out there, I know he's more of a fringe start. I put him as a must start, but you're starting Josh Allen over him. You're starting Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. I would probably start Geno over him, and then I think that's the end of the list for me. I mean, you could argue Kirk Cousins. He's in a pretty good matchup this week. But, yeah, I want Fields. I think the floor is really safe for Fields to fill in for some of these bye weeks or injuries that you might be dealing with a QB. But, yeah, I'm not starting any of these, top 8 QBs over Justin Fields. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Hey, Sam, how's it going? Hope you're having a good week so far. It's time to bounce back from the loss last week. Let's do it, Kylo. And we're at this is a turning point in the fantasy season, by the way, where you got to change the trajectory. If you are off to a losing start, you got to make some moves. Do you like Taysom this week over Goddard because I'm not starting 2 tight ends? Tip you always say. Yeah, I'm starting Goddard over Taysom still. I think there's a clear tier that you still have to start over Taysom. And I would keep Kyle Pitts in that tier. I know it's going to be tough for people. But yeah, I would start Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, Dallas Goddard, and Kyle Pitts all over Taysom Hill. And then after that, I mean, man, you can really make a case for Taysom Hill for sure. I think that the Taysom Hill touchdown upside is still really there in the tight end slot. Would you trade Singletary for Zeke? Yeah, I would do that one, Brett. Honestly, it feels like people are a little bit too down on Ezekiel Elliott right now. Actually, there was a Best Ball Resurrection drafts happening on Underdog. They actually just ended, but it was draft for the remainder of the season. It was really interesting to see the ADP. Zeke was almost outside the top 100 players in that. He's seen at least 15 carries now in 4 straight games, back-to-back games now, over 18 carries. He's still seeing over 60% of the snaps every single week. I know that Dallas Cowboys offense hasn't been great. Zeke hasn't had any huge days. He doesn't have a single game over 15 fantasy points this season. But the usage hasn't really changed for Zeke. It really hasn't changed that much. Yeah, I would take Zeke over Singletary. I don't think Zeke's a must-buy or anything. But, yeah, I would take him over Singletary. Hey, Sam, do I start Brian Robinson, Lazard, or Eno? Yeah, again, it's got to be Eno. You got to start Eno over Brian Robinson, definitely over Lazard as well. James Conner has already been ruled out. I believe I read that today. Someone please tell me if I'm wrong about that, but I don't think I'm wrong about that. I think James Conner was literally ruled out today. Let me pull it up. Yeah, he's not officially ruled out. Is expected to miss week 6, but also perhaps additional time. That's what made me think he was for sure ruled out. Because they said he's expected to miss week 6, but not only is James Conner expected to miss week 6, he might miss additional time after that. So that makes me feel like he's almost definitely not playing this week. And that makes Eno a must start. The Seahawks defense has stopped 0 players this season. The Seahawks defense can't stop anyone. They can't stop anyone. And Eno looked pretty good, too, when James Conner went down last week. Do I start Curtis Samuel or Michael Pittman? Yeah, we're starting Michael Pittman over Curtis Samuel still. I get the Michael Pittman disrespect recently. He has not had the start of the season as we all had hoped. He was a top 3 round pick in fantasy. Probably took him in the 3rd or 4th round. But, guys, he's still got over 10 points in 3 of the 4 games he's played. He hasn't seen very many deep targets, but he's still the clear top target for the Colts. I think Pittman's still in must-start territory every single week. Are you starting Terry McLaurin over Miles Sanders or Kenneth Walker? I would not start him over Kenneth Walker. I would consider starting him over Miles Sanders. The Eagles get the Cowboys this week, I believe, on Sunday Night Football. That'll be a very good game. Obviously, you got to like Sanders a decent amount in that spot. Sanders has 15-plus carries now in 4 straight games. Pretty elite usage for Sanders behind a very good offensive line. I'd say Sanders has a safer floor, but I do like Terry McLaurin tonight. And I actually think if this is a PPR league, I would play McLaurin over Miles Sanders. My player prop of the day is actually Terry McLaurin over 53.5 receiving yards. Guys, Terry McLaurin has not had a great start to the season. It feels like he has really disappointed fantasy managers. He doesn't have a single game as a top 24 receiver this season. He actually has one. He has one. Week 3, he was a top 24 receiver, but he was number 24. But guys, he's still got over 10 points in 4 out of his 5 games. We've seen his floor pretty consistently. He has a pretty good floor. He sees at least 6 targets in almost every single game. He's been over this prop line in 4 out of his 5 games. He's had a bad start to the season, and he still has been over this prop line 4 out of 5 times. This is the prop line over on DraftKings. I think it's the same line on PrizePicks in Underdog. I like running it back, by the way, with the Khalil Herbert line. That line feels a little low to me. I think it was at 25.5. I think Khalil Herbert will get 4 to 5 carries tonight, and he could easily clear that prop with one of those carries. But yeah, I like McLaurin a lot tonight, over 53.5. I think this is a bounce back spot for Scary Terry. Alec Pierce or Isaiah McKenzie. I would lean towards Alec Pierce. I do think Khalil Shakir probably played himself into a little bit of a role too, so it'll be interesting to see how that shapes out with Isaiah McKenzie. Still think McKenzie is ahead of Shakir, but I feel better benching McKenzie in that one. Hey Sam, how do you feel about Curtis Samuel tonight? And do you think Jacoby Myers is a good start this week in PPR? Yeah. So we don't know the QB situation for Jacoby Myers this week yet, but Jacoby Myers, guys, he's having an elite season. I mean, Jacoby Myers quietly the number 8 wide receiver in fantasy points per game. I mean, nobody's talking about Jacoby Myers. He now has back-to-back games. He missed week 3. He missed week 4, so he's done it on less games. But guys, he's played 3 games this season. He's gotten over 50 yards all 3 of those games. In 2 of those games, he went over 90 yards and scored a touchdown last game. I mean, he never scores touchdowns. I do think he's in play in PPR leagues. I would still prefer Curtis Samuel, I think, over Jacoby Myers because if Bailey Zappi plays, I don't know how well that's going to go against the Browns. I think they'll be very run-heavy again. But I do like Curtis Samuel tonight. Yeah, Curtis Samuel is a guy that he also has a really good floor because he's getting schemed touches. Again, we talked about this on the Sunday morning live, but the way Mcclorn and Samuel are being used are entirely different. We have Terry McLaurin seeing deep targets down the field. He has almost quadruple the air yards of Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel getting a lot of his touches right at the line of scrimmage. Curtis Samuel only has 200 air yards this season. That's 70th in the NFL. But he's seeing a lot of targets. He now has at least 7 targets in all 5 games for Curtis Samuel, who he has. Let me pull up the numbers. He's the 11th most targets in the league. I mean, he's top 12 in targets. That's Curtis Samuel. So, I mean, that's great. That's what you want in PPR leagues. Targets are so valuable, even though his are coming right around the line of scrimmage. It does make them a little less valuable for at least the upside case. But yeah, his floor is great because he's seeing top 10 in targets, top 12 in targets for Curtis Samuel. So why am I starting Justin Fields? Yeah, so the Justin Fields take is sort of threefold. First off, he's running a lot. He's had at least 7 rushing attempts in each of his first 5 games. On top of that, though, he also had a 40-yard rushing touchdown called back last week. And guys, last week, Justin Fields was the number 13 fantasy QB because he rushed for 47 yards. And he threw for a touchdown. He finally threw for over 200 yards last week. But he also finally completed a decent amount of his passes. And he was the number 13 QB with a 40-yard rushing touchdown called back. With that touchdown, he would have been a top 10 quarterback back in week 5 last week. But then he also has a fantastic matchup. By far his best matchup this season is tonight. He's played 5 good defenses. Justin Fields and this Bears offense. The 49ers have been top 15 against QBs. The Packers have been top 15 against QBs. The Texans haven't been great against QBs, but they've been really bad against running. Giants haven't been horrible against quarterbacks, and the Vikings haven't been horrible against quarterbacks this season. And now he gets the Commanders, who they rank 3rd worst against quarterbacks this season. I like the matchup for Justin Fields. Actually, I don't think they're 3rd worst. I think they're a little bit better than that. Yeah, they rank 22nd in yards per game allowed to quarterbacks. They rank 30th against receivers. So they're 3rd worst against receivers. That's the Commanders. And they are 10th worst against quarterbacks. I mean, they've been bad. The Commanders' defense is not very intimidating. So I do like this game for Justin Fields at home. I think it's the easiest defense he's played. And then again, I'm not starting him over like these elite quarterbacks. I think I just listed the quarterbacks I would start over Justin Fields, and they're pretty obvious. But I think he's a top 12 QB play this week. So Josh Allen, I'm starting over him, obviously. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Geno Smith. And then maybe you can make the case for Kirk Cousins, but then still that's Justin Fields at 11. Those are all the QBs I'm starting over Justin Fields, and that's it. So yeah, I do like Justin Fields tonight. I am starting over Russ in one of my leagues. Hey, Sam, what do you think of this trade I did? Breece Hall, James Conner, and T. Higgins for Debo and Mixon. Yeah, I'll take the Debo side, I think, from this one. I like Breece Hall a lot. But Joe Mixon's at least as valuable, I think, as Breece Hall, and then Debo's the best player in the trade. So, yeah, I do like this trade for you. Pick 1, PPR, Brian Robinson, Raheem Mostert, A.J. Dillon. Yeah, so I feel like I'm going to be benching Brian Robinson in a lot of these start sits because you have some good options here. Honestly, Mostert's probably the safest play. He's probably the biggest lock for at least 15 touches. I think Brian Robinson can easily score a TD tonight. But I don't want to start any of these Commanders running backs because all 3 are still going to be involved. Robinson's going to start. Robinson's probably going to go around 10 carries, depending on the games, we have 10 to 15 carries. For Brian Robinson, probably 0 targets or close to 0 targets. J.D. McKissic's going to get the targets. And who knows who's going to get the goal line work? Probably Brian Robinson, but it could easily be Antonio Gibson too. Good defense, streamers, is Commanders viable? Yeah, Commanders viable. Again, I like Fields this week, and the Commanders defense hasn't been great, but they're viable. The over-under in this game is 38 points. I like the Bears defense, though, more than the Commanders defense tonight, if you can pick between the two. I also think a really low-key good defenses this week are the Patriots and the Browns. I think both the Patriots and the Browns defenses, they're playing each other this week. I think both defenses are set up for a decent amount of upside. Jacoby Brissett against Bill Belichick is just another, prime spot for the Pats defense. Eno or Miles Sanders. Yeah, I would lean Eno over Miles Sanders again. The Seahawks defense has stopped 0 players this season. They haven't stopped anyone. I'm forcing Eno into all of my lineups if I was able to pick him up. I have lots of wide receivers and very scarce at the running back position. Do you think Curtis Samuel for Brian Robinson is a good trade in the long run? Yeah. Luke, I don't hate this at all. If you have lots of receivers, you're probably not needing to start Curtis Samuel every week, and Brian Robinson is a starting running back. So there's only 32 of those. I think he's probably one of the worst, if not the worst, starting running backs in fantasy, though, because he's in a 3-way timeshare. But yeah, throughout the course of the season, you got to bet on these rookies, guys, to pick it up too as the season goes on. You want to have these rookies on your team. They're going to get better as the season goes on. Thoughts on Damari Cooper this week? Don't have any thoughts for you about Amari Cooper this week, other than I think the Pats defense is in a pretty good spot. So I don't love Amari Cooper. I think you probably still have to start him though. All right, let's get to some of these other Thursday night questions. Fields or Kirk? Yeah, I'm going Fields over Kirk. I think that's like the line though. That's like right where I have the line for Fields. I'm starting around 9 or 10 quarterbacks over Fields, but not Kirk Cousins. I'm not starting Kirk Cousins over him. I am starting Geno Smith over him, but I'm not starting Kirk Cousins over him. Terry or McKenzie, though Kirk is in a good spot this week. Definitely, I'd go Terry McLaurin over Isaiah McKenzie for sure. That one's easy. Juju or London. We're trying to focus on these Thursday night questions, but yeah, I'd probably go London. I see a Daniel Jones or Fields question. Yeah, I'm going Fields. Again, one more time for the people in the back. The quarterbacks I'm starting over Justin Fields tonight. One more time for the people in the back. Then we'll move on from the Justin Fields stuff. These are the only quarterbacks that I'm personally starting over Fields this week. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Geno Smith. End of list. I just listed 9 QBs. I have Justin Fields as number 10 QB this week. Okay, let's get to some of these questions in the YouTube Live and the TikTok Live. Should I trade Curtis Samuel and James Robinson for Aaron Jones? Yep, I would 100% do that one. Again, you love these 2-for-1s where you're getting the best player. That's like the best possible trades to be making in fantasy. Monty or Pitt? PPR. If you're talking about Pitts, I'm assuming you're talking about Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I'd definitely go Monty over Kyle Pitts. I think Monty is must start tonight. He played 70% of the snaps last week. I would be playing A.J. Dillon over Brian Robinson, but it's definitely close. It's definitely very close. I do like Dillon against the Jets this week. It is probably a pretty good game script for him. Start 2 wide receivers, Mooney, London, Terry. Also, Brian Robinson or Pollard. Yeah, this one I'm actually fine going Brian Robinson. I think I would go Brian Robinson over Pollard. I think that one's extremely close as well, especially if it's not PPR. I think B-Rob probably has more rushing yards than Pollard this week, and I would definitely go London and Terry over Mooney. And I still think Mooney has some potential this week. He's gotten a couple of deep passes each of the last 2 weeks. Again, I like Fields tonight. This is a good matchup for Mooney. This is easily the best matchup Mooney's had this entire season. The Commanders ranked 3rd worst in the NFL against receivers this season. They allowed the 3rd most yards to receivers this season. That's what that means. They ranked 10th worst against quarterbacks. So I like Fields, I like Mooney, but I don't like Mooney more than Terry, and I don't like Mooney more than Drake London, who I thought was dealing with an injury to start the week, but he actually practiced fully today, so he's fine. What are your thoughts on Wentz? Yeah, so I haven't talked really at all about Wentz. I do like Fields tonight, mostly because of his rushing, but I think Wentz is going to have a better passing day than Justin Fields. And guys, you take a look at the numbers for Carson Wentz, and it's actually pretty hilarious. He has thrown the 2nd most passes in the NFL this season. I mean, polar opposite side of the spectrum of Justin Fields, who's thrown the least pass attempts in the NFL this season for among the starting QBs. Carson Wentz, he's averaging 42 pass attempts per game. Justin Fields, he's averaging 18 pass attempts per game, almost 4 times the amount of passing attempts as Justin Fields. That's Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz leads the NFL in deep attempts per game. He's pushing the ball really aggressively down the field. He has the most air yards in the NFL. And part of that's just because he's thrown the ball so much. It's actually his yards per attempt ranked 28th. Only 6.6 yards per attempt. So he's not being very aggressive. He's just throwing the ball an absolutely insane amount of times. That's why they've allowed so many sacks. That's why the Bears defense is definitely in play today. Because, guys, guess what? Carson Wentz also thrown the most pressured throws in the NFL. So he's throwing a lot, but he's under pressure constantly. And that's why he can't be trusted in fantasy. That's why he hasn't been amazing in fantasy the last 3 weeks. He had over 25 fantasy points each of the first 2 weeks. But then you go back and you see one of those games came against the Lions, who we know their defense is complete trash this season. And one of them came against the Jaguars, and that was actually, looking back, a pretty impressive performance, where he had 30 points against the Jaguars defense. He plays the Eagles and the Cowboys, though, goes under 10 points in each of those games. Then last week, a good match against the Titans, 23 fantasy points for Carson Wentz. Yeah, it feels like he's being a little bit slept on from a fantasy perspective. In this game, he has gone over 20 points 3 times this season, but I think all of those games where he did that were better matchups than he's in tonight. Also, there's that report he came out that he's dealing with some sort of injury again. I don't feel great about Wentz, though. It wouldn't shock me. Guys, Carson Wentz is 6-0 on Thursday Night Football. This was some pretty good intel that came from the WalterPicks Slack this morning. Carson Wentz is 6-0, undefeated on Thursday Night Football. So there's definitely some chance Carson Wentz has a decent performance tonight too. It's not like the Bears defense is unstoppable. B-Rob or Pollard have 1 PPR. Yeah, I'd go B-Rob over Pollard this week. I think that's actually a pretty sharp play. Monty or Pittman, I'm definitely going Pittman still. I'm not benching Pittman. Hey, Sam, start 2, Scary Terry, Brian Robinson, Jeff Wilson, Lazard. Yeah, you got to go Scary Terry, Jeff Wilson. I think with those two, Jeff Wilson's going to get more touches. Then Brian Robinson. I need 2 between Scary Terry, Waddle, Pittman, or Godwin. Yeah, you can't be playing Mcclorn in this one. You probably in this one need to be benching Waddle as well with the quarterback situation. I'd probably just go Pittman and Godwin. We have a 7th round rookie quarterback starting for the Dolphins this week. Skylar Thompson is his name, and guys, he's really, really bad. He cannot be trusted. The Dolphins are probably gonna lose again this week. Starting him, it's gonna be really hard for them to win a game with probably the worst quarterback that's playing this week. So yeah, I don't feel great about Waddle. I think it's a downgrade for Tyreek too. Both guys still can be started, but definitely a downgrade. I'm going Fields over Wentz. We were just walking through the numbers. Wentz has been much better in fantasy this season. I mean, Carson Wentz, guys, he has actually the 8th most fantasy points per game at the quarterback position. And that's partially because he's thrown the 2nd most pass attempts in the NFL. Meanwhile, Justin Fields, he's thrown the fewest pass attempts in the NFL. I think they will be closer tonight. Wentz will definitely throw the ball still more. But I like Fields more tonight because of his rushing that he's shown in the past couple of weeks. He did get a 40-yard rushing touchdown, get called back last week. And I think the Commanders' defense is worse than the Bears' defense. Start Terry McLaurin. Yeah, I do like Terry McLaurin tonight. I'm starting Terry McLaurin over Adam Thielen. Yeah, 100%. And I do like Terry McLaurin over 53.5 receiving yards tonight, too. That is the free player prop of the day. We're at 50%, guys. We got to be better than 50% on the free props I'm giving out on this live stream. So Terry Mcclorn is going to get us back on track tonight. Defense rankings. I like the Bears defense more than the Commanders defense tonight. But I don't have defensive rankings on the live. Gabe Davis, McLaurin, Godwin, which 2? Honestly, I think I would go McLaurin and Godwin probably ahead of Gabe Davis. It's really tough to bench Gabe Davis after last week. But when you really think about it, guys, Gabe Davis had 3 catches last week. Gabriel Davis had 3 catches last week. That's it. Both of his big games now. He doesn't have a single game with more than 4 catches. He's played 4 games. He has no games with more than 4 catches. But yeah, actually against the Chiefs, I take that back. I think you play Gabe Davis. I think you bench McLaurin. I think you play Gabe Davis. You play Chris Godwin. The Bills versus the Chiefs game, guys. I mean, man, finally we're gonna get to see an offense that can keep up with the Bills offense and hopefully make that game really, really fun to watch and huge for fantasy. I just gave the WalterPicks app a 5-star review on the App Store. I really appreciate that, guys. Yeah, if I don't get your start sits, best place you could possibly go is to the WalterPicks app, where you can get all your start sit questions answered for 100% completely free from our machine learning technology in the WalterPicks app. Again, that's completely free to download. Link is in the TikTok bio. Link is in the YouTube description. I'm not going to be able to get everyone's start sits. There's a lot of start sits in the comments. I try to make these lists to make things easier on everyone. But obviously, there's 2 sides to every start sit decision. That's exactly how the WalterPicks app was built. So you can do as many start sit comparisons as you want in the app. It's, again, completely free to download and try out. There are some premium subscriptions, but you don't need to pay for them if it's not for you. And they also start for as little as $10 per month. Why Bears defense? Yeah, so the Commanders have allowed top 3 sacks in the league so far this season. Carson Wentz, he has thrown the most interceptable passes in the NFL, 15 interceptable passes for Carson Wentz this season. That's as tracked by playerprofiler.com. I mean, he's a turnover machine. He always has been really, really bad with the turnovers. So the Bears are going to force some turnovers tonight. Hey, Sam, I traded Pearson, Gabe Davis for Aaron Jones and Gallup because I need a win in a PPR league. Pearson, Gabe Davis for Aaron Jones and Gallup. Yeah, I like that trade. Both those players I gave were on my bench, and everyone flamed me in the group chat. I don't think you should be flamed for that. And I also think that, like, obviously bad timing with the Gabe Davis thing. I don't know if you did this before or after the Gabe Davis game. If it was after the Gabe Davis game, that's great. Again, he only had 3 catches last week. Gallup could easily outscore Gabe Davis the rest of the season, and I would not be shocked. Most people would be shocked. I would not be shocked if Gallup outscored Gabe Davis the rest of the season. Trade Stevenson, Kittle, Romeo Dobbs, Olave for Andrews and D-Hop. No, I wouldn't do this one. Andrews is the best player in the trade, but Stevenson is wheels up this week. If you have Stevenson, I wouldn't be trading him. I think you want him this week. We have him as the number 2 running back this week. Like that's insane floor ceiling combo for Stevenson with no Damian Harris. We saw it last week. He's going to see 20+ touches against a really bad Browns defense. The Browns just allowed 160 rushing yards to Austin Eckler on 13 carries. Something ridiculous for Austin Eckler this week against this Browns defense. The Browns defense has been really bad this season. Yeah, 16 carries. He had 4 catches, 200 total yards, 199 yards for Austin Eckler against the Browns this past week. And he only played half the snaps. And so on 20 touches, Austin Eckler goes for about 200 yards. I mean, you can easily see Mondre going over 100 yards this week, guys. He's going to have at least 20 touches this week. And yeah, the number 1 running back last week, guess who he was playing? The Cleveland Browns. By the way, Austin Eckler, back-to-back weeks as the number 1 running back in fantasy football. Back-to-back games over 34 fantasy points. For Austin Eckler, he has 5 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks after scoring no touchdowns in the first 3 weeks. Shout out Austin Eckler being an absolute beast in fantasy football. Benjamin Lockett or Brian Robinson. Yeah, again, I'm starting over Brian Robinson. Over Lockett's really tough. They're playing in that same game. Honestly, I kind of lean Lockett if this is a PPR league. Lockett's been really, really good. And we know the ceiling is there for Lockett too. But yeah, I'm definitely playing over Brian Robinson. So either way, you're benching Brian Robinson tonight. Sam, we got our first win and scored highest in the league. Yarsman, that's how you bounce back, man. That's how you go from winless to just on everyone's map. Love to hear that for you, man. Drop Russ for Goff. Oh God, yeah, it's come to this with the Russ stuff. And honestly, yeah, I would rather Goff rest of the season than Russ. I'm actually surprised Goff is on your waiver wire. I get that it's his bye week this week, but guys, Jared Goff so far this season, he's 9th in fantasy points per game, 19.7 fantasy points per game. He's coming off his worst game of the season, obviously, but we knew that was going to come against Bill Belichick. He has at least 15 points in all of his other 4 games. And we know the Lions defense is atrocious. He's going to have to keep throwing the ball. So yeah, I do like Jared Goff more than Russ rest of the season. Though I will say, be careful dropping Russ though, because Russ has a very good schedule to end the season. The Broncos, part of the reason I like the Broncos so much in best ball and in fantasy this season is the end of the year schedule. When you look ahead and remember, the most important thing in fantasy football is the playoffs. Nothing's more important than the playoffs. Like, you got to make the playoffs. That's more important. That's the only thing more important than the playoffs themselves, is making the playoffs. But once you're in the playoffs, I mean, those games matter so much more than all your other games. So it's worth looking ahead at what the games are that are going to be played those weeks. And in those weeks, guys, the Broncos have just an incredible stretch of a schedule. They have the Chiefs in week 14. They have the Cardinals in week 15. And then they have the Rams in week 16. The Rams defense has been really bad this season. But yeah, back-to-back weeks, Chiefs, Cardinals, I mean, very few back-to-back games that are going to be better matchups for any quarterback this whole season. So really good spot for Russ. So I would be careful dropping him. But yeah, I would still take Goff over him. My prop of the night, I do have a prop tonight. It is Terry McLaurin, over 53.5 receiving yards. Terry Mcclorn, if you're looking for a first TD play, I do like Terry Mcclorn. I don't hate the Brian Robinson play either, and I don't hate the Justin Fields play as first TD either. Again, he had a 40-yard rushing touchdown called back last week. He's running the ball a decent amount, at least 7 carries in every game this season for Justin Fields. Why the Bears defense? Is because they're playing Carson Wentz. Carson turnover machine Wentz. He has the most interceptable passes this season. He's thrown 15 interceptable passes in 5 games. That's 3 per game. That's not interceptions. Again, that's interceptable passes that's tracked each week by playerprofiler.com, who is our data provider. We also, though, know that Carson Wentz gets sacked a ton. He has been pressured the most in the NFL. He also is number 2 in pass attempts, so he's dropping back a ton of times, which also is good for the Bears defense in terms of the sacks and the potential turnovers. So yeah, I do like the Bears are in play tonight for the for playing them on defense in fantasy this week. All right, we got some more Curtis Samuel questions here. Hey Sam, do I start Curtis Samuel over any of these receivers? CeeDee Lamb, Cortland Sutton, Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk. Yeah, I wouldn't start him over any of those guys this week. No, I would be benching Curtis Samuel for all four of those guys. And Gabe Davis is the only one where I would consider starting Curtis Samuel over. But then you look and he's playing the Chiefs, and no, you can't bench Gabe Davis this week against the Chiefs. You can't bench anyone really in that game. Like that game could be absolutely insane. We've seen these games between the Bills and the Chiefs, and just think about it. Last week, right? I know the Chiefs defense isn't quite as bad as the Steelers defense, but last week, Josh Allen, I mean, he could have broken NFL records in that game if the Steelers were able to keep it close. Like, no one's stopping this Bills offense. So if there's going to be games where Josh Allen has some insane days, it's going to be the games where these offenses can keep up, or at least a little bit keep up. So it's at least a game in the fourth quarter, not a 3-possession game in the fourth quarter. And the Chiefs are definitely capable of doing that. So you can't really be benching Gabe Davis. Sup, Sam? What's going on? Shazuto in the YouTube live. I traded Jeff Wilson and Duvernay for Njoku and Terry. Yeah, I would say that's a dub. I like Jeff Wilson a lot, but Elijah Mitchell is going to come back. And again, the fantasy playoffs are what matters. right? Elijah Mitchell does come back, and like Jeff Wilson's probably worthless in the fantasy playoffs if we're being honest, and Terry's definitely not going to be worthless in the fantasy playoffs. So I do like that trade. And honestly, Njoku kind of a quiet steal in that trade too. And Njoku's been one of these few tight ends that has some life each week. There's very few of them out there, so you got to grab onto them and hold on. If you are looking for tight ends, I mean, 3 straight games now over 9 points for Njoku. He's finished top 6 tight end in 2 different weeks. He was the number 2 tight end back in week 3. Again, that was against the Steelers, though, whose defense has been complete trash this season. Should I get Duvernay off waivers? Yeah, Kyle, he's definitely startable this week, or at least like an interesting stash this week. I am nervous about the Bateman injury. The Bateman injury, I think, seems pretty bad, guys. The Bateman injury, I'm very nervous about. I was nervous the second that it happened, and I haven't been not nervous since with the Bateman injury. Tyler Algier, Rashad White for this week and going forward. Definitely Rashad White. I posted a video this week on TikTok. Check it out at WalterPicks. Make sure you're following so you don't miss my daily content over on TikTok. But I posted a video of 3 guys I'm buying. One of them was Rashad White. One of the 3 guys I think you really strongly need to be considering looking into and inquiring about is Rashad White. And Rashad White's available in over 60% of the leagues for free right now on the waiver wire, which is insane to me. But he's played 40% of the snaps back-to-back weeks for the Buccaneers. He was a 98th percentile receiver in college out of the backfield. That's Rashad White, the running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he's one of the few rookies in NFL history to ever get praise from Tom Brady in their rookie season. And we know Leonard Fournette gets an insane amount of targets. If Leonard Fournette goes down, guys, I mean, Rashad White could be a top 10, maybe even top 5 running back in fantasy with the amount of targets he would get in that role. So he could win leagues with a Leonard Fournette injury, but I also think Rashad White has some standalone value because he has 4 targets in back-to-back games now. So he has some PPR appeal too. All right, what are your expectations for Robinson tonight? I love Brian Robinson. I'm rooting for Brian Robinson. I think everyone should be rooting for Brian Robinson after what he has gone through to get back on the field so fast. I mean, it's truly incredible. I actually am starting Brian Robinson in 1 league, but granted, I'm starting him over Nyheim Hines, who we don't even know is going to play, and Chase Edmonds, who honestly should be closer to the waiver wire than in people's starting lineups at this time. I actually just dropped Chase Edmonds in one of my leagues. I dropped Chase Edmonds, and I added Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, that is taking the ultimate L on Chase Edmonds. Maybe I'm doing this a little prematurely, but Mostert is the clear workhorse back. I got no faith in Chase Edmonds right now. So, yeah, I would start Brian Robinson over him. But, yeah, I think Brian Robinson, he'll probably be around 50 rushing yards tonight, and he'll have a pretty good chance at a touchdown. I don't think he catches more than 1 pass. So, around 5 to 10 fantasy points probably. And it's really tough to trust him in fantasy only because J.D. McKissic's going to be very involved still. And we know J.D. McKissic's going to be super involved in the passing game. He is the 3rd down back. And then Antonio Gibson's still there, and he's still going to get some touches too. So that's why it's just so tough to trust any of these 3 running backs. Fields over Herbert? No, we're not playing Fields over Herbert. We're not playing Fields over Mahomes. I'll read through the list again. There's a list of 9 QBs I'm not starting over Fields. Sam, do I start Mooney today? Yeah, Mooney can be started, but Yarsman, just be careful what you might be about to put yourself through. Rooting for Darnell Mooney in a game where Justin Fields has not had a game yet this season where he threw the ball more than 22 times. And to put in context how small that is, I think of the teams in the NFL, let me actually pull this up. Pass attempts, NFL. There's only a number of teams. Let me rephrase this. This will really put the Justin Fields passing into perspective for all of you. Justin Fields, by the way, he just had his first game over 200 yards last week. Justin Fields, he has a single game. He doesn't have a single game this season with more than 22 passing attempts. 22 passing attempts is his most he's had in a game this season. He's been under 23 passing attempts all 5 games. There's not a team in the NFL averaging fewer than 23 passing attempts a game. Think about how crazy that is. He has had less than every single team's averaging this whole season. I mean, just a ridiculously low volume in the passing game, which makes Mooney so risky. Mooney's like target share, everything. Like, he's getting targeted as much as you would want him to. Just the passing volume isn't there to sustain Mooney. His target share is 25%. Like, that's pretty strong. His air yard share is 40%. Darnell Mooney is 40% of the Bears' air yards. But it doesn't mean that much because, again, they're not throwing enough. But, yeah, Mooney is still in play. It's a good matchup for Mooney. And this is the best matchup Fields has had this whole season. By far, this is the easiest matchup he's had in terms of the defenses that he's played. And the same can be said for Darnell Mooney, who gets a Commander's secondary that has allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to receivers this season. So, yeah, I think Mooney's in play, but the passing volume is the big question tonight. All right, Kenneth Walker or Clyde? I like Kenneth more than Clyde. I'm not going to lie. I'm very excited for Kenneth, though I also think DJ Dallas in DFS this week is worth sprinkling in because Kenneth is going to be absolute chalk, and I would not put it past Pete Carroll to give DJ Dallas like half the backfield. Another one, Sam, pick 2. Curtis or Kirk or MT. Yeah, I bench Curtis in this one again, too. Actually, I take that back. I'm just realizing MT was in this. Yeah, I would play Curtis tonight. I don't think Michael Thomas is playing this weekend. I've been through a roller coaster, just like the rest of us with Michael Thomas. I think I have him on maybe one team, and really all preseason. I've been really the last 2.5 years. I've had the same stance about Michael Thomas. It's if he's on the field practicing fully, if I see him on the field playing in a real game, I want Michael Thomas on my fantasy teams. I'm drafting Michael Thomas. I would trade for Michael Thomas if he's on the field. If he's not on the field, get me as far away from Michael Thomas as humanly possible. I don't want anything to do with Michael Thomas until he's actually able to play. And he picks up a toe injury this season. A toe injury also, it just sounds so brutal. And I know toe injuries that they can really be limiting for receivers who need to run very fast. But it's a toe injury for Michael Thomas that was deemed not serious when it first happened. He's now missed week 4. He's now missed week 5. And he has not practiced. He has not practiced since. I don't think he's playing this week. And the reason I was so optimistic that he was going to play this week is Adam Schefter himself, straight from the source himself, said on Sunday, after Michael Thomas was ruled out, he said that Michael Thomas is expected to play next week. And usually Schefter's on the money with that type of stuff. But yeah, he hasn't practiced yet. And the fact that he hasn't practiced yet, I'm not trusting Michael Thomas. So I would play Curtis Samuel over Michael Thomas for sure. Should I drop Eagles D for Bears defense? Nah, I kind of like the Eagles defense against Cooper Rush. I don't hate that at all. I do like the Bears defense tonight too. The Bears, this game does have a lower over-under, so maybe they're a slightly safer play. But I think the Eagles have a little bit more upside on the defensive side of the ball this week. Mooney or Zay Jones, Pickens or Gallup? Honestly, I feel like it's got to be Pickens. I think you got to play Pickens over Mooney at this stage. And again, you just go back to the passing volume. Justin Fields doesn't have a single game with more than 22 passing attempts. And you look at Kenny Pickett's start to his career, and the defense is so bad for the Steelers that Kenny Pickett's in like a low-key Jared Goff type of situation where the offense is still not as good. But guys, Kenny Pickett had 327 yards last week against the Bills, 0 passing touchdowns. He now has 4 interceptions, 0 touchdowns through 0 passing touchdowns. He did run for 2 in his first game against the Jets. But guys, Kenny Pickett, he threw the ball 52 times, 52 passing attempts for Kenny Pickett. Again, compared to Justin Fields, he has not thrown the ball more than 23 times in a game this whole season. So, Kenny Pickett almost totals more passing attempts in a game than Fields has this entire season. That's why you kind of have to go Pickett, I think, over Darnell Mooney. Good evening. Sam, how's it going, Adam? Trade question. Would you trade swap of Gabe Davis for DK? 100%. I would do that instantly. If someone sent me that trade, I would ship off Gabe Davis in literally a second. I don't want to go away from Allen to Geno. I get that. I get not wanting to go from Josh Allen to Geno. But again, Gabe Davis had 3 catches this past week. He doesn't have a game this season with more than 4 catches. I know he's only played in, I think, 3, maybe 4 games. 4 games he's played in. I guess he's played in 4 games. 4 games. He does not have a game with more than 4 catches. He has 2 games that have been huge, but he also has 2 games under 7 points. Again, because he's not seeing volume. He's a touchdown-dependent receiver. That's pretty unheard of because he's seeing no volume still in the passing game. It's still a lot of Steph Diggs, still a lot of Josh Allen running, and he's been getting a lot of people involved. I would definitely take DK. Again, look at the numbers for DK, and I know Geno's probably not going to be able to keep up this type of efficiency. But DK Metcalf, we just said Gabe Davis doesn't have a game with more than 4 catches. Well, guys, DK Metcalf has 4 games with at least 5 catches. The volume is just entirely different. And I think he still could score a lot of touchdowns. I would prefer DK Metcalf for sure over Gabe Davis. But I get that swapping those QBs doesn't feel good. What's your outlook on Christian Kirk? Seeming to lose targets, trade him away. Nope, I'm holding Christian Kirk for sure. I still think he's a super safe fantasy asset. Even after the game, Doug Peterson, head coach of the Jaguars, said straight up, we have to get him more targets. And that's exactly what you want to hear. That's exactly what we heard about Marquise Brown after week 1, and they followed up with it. I feel good about Christian Kirk still rest of the season. Obviously, he's coming off a really bad game, really bad back-to-back games. Now he has under 10 fantasy points back-to-back games, but we can't lose sight of the fact that he was a top 20 receiver each of the first 3 weeks. He's seen significant volume, and Trevor Lawrence appears to be taking that second-year leap that we wanted him to take when we drafted Christian Kirk. So yeah, I still feel good about Christian Kirk. Sam, this is a crazy question about Christian Kirk or B-Rob. Yeah, you still got to go Kirk, and I get it. Kirk's coming off a bad game. He's coming off a very bad game. I still think he kind of has to be started over Brian Robinson with the target volume we've seen him get. Would you trade Marquise Brown and Brian Robinson for Chase? Yep, I would do that one. Yep, 100%. And I like Marquise Brown. But yeah, I want to be trading for Jamar Chase. I posted a video about that on TikTok today. Why should I start Monty? Because Monty is seeing workhorse level usage for David Montgomery. He's played 70% of the snaps off the ankle injury last week. So yeah, you kind of have to start him. Like the usage he's getting, he kind of has to be started. David Montgomery, 80% snap share, 77% of snaps last week. For David Montgomery, 12 carries, 4 targets, 16 touches. He did score a touchdown, and he appeared to escape the game without any more injury, without aggravating the injury. So I kind of feel like he just usage-based alone in this game, Montgomery kind of has to be started. I think he's the biggest must start tonight, honestly. Then it would be Terry McLaurin. I put them in order on the TikTok live in order of who I think is must start. Najee or Pittman in the flex. Pittman over Najee. Najee's just brutal right now. Hey, hi Sam. Hope you're having a great day. Great Thursday night. Thanks, Malik. Thank you for the positivity. All of you, thank you for the positivity. Appreciate it. Very contagious. Kenneth Walker or Drake London. Thanks. Yeah, I think you go Kenneth over Drake London. I still think Drake London has a really bright future for the rest of this season. It's going to be very good in fantasy, but yeah, I still think I go Kenneth over him this week. Brian Robinson or Cam Akers this week? Yeah, Cam Akers is getting really tough in fantasy because he is the lead back for the Rams. Cam Akers has led the team in carries over the last 4 games. But you go and you look a little deeper, and yeah, you can't be starting Cam Akers. You have to start Brian Robinson. Cam Akers' best game this season was 10 fantasy points. That's the only game he scored a touchdown. Every other game where Cam Akers didn't score a touchdown, under 10 fantasy points. He's been under 5 PPR fantasy points each of the last 2 weeks. Get Cam Akers out of your lineups. I think it's actually a good matchup for the Rams this week. But yeah, you got to start Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson's over under tonight, around 54 rushing yards. I guarantee you Cam Akers' rushing prop will be below that. Yeah, so I would definitely go Brian Robinson tonight. D-Hop value is rising every single week. D-Hop value is rising every single week. I still think Marquise Brown will maintain almost as much value, if not even more, than he has now. I think I wouldn't sell Marquise Brown if you have him just because D-Hop's returning. But I do think D-Hop's going to do at least a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. He's going to be fully healthy too. People forget and have this sour taste in their mind about D-Hop because he was hurt last season. He dealt with a lot of injuries last season. And by all accounts, he's fully healthy now. So I do like D-Hop a decent amount for the rest of the season once he returns. What are the QBs you are playing over Justin Fields? All right, I got you. I got you with the QBs I'm playing over Justin Fields. All right. Here are the QBs I'm playing over Justin Fields. There's only 9 of them. There's only 9 QBs I'm playing over Justin Fields. So in a lot of situations, I think you should start Justin Fields tonight. Like for me, I'm starting Justin Fields over Russell Wilson tonight. All right. The QBs I'm starting over Justin Fields. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Geno Smith. I'll say it one more time. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Geno Smith. 9 QBs I'm starting over Justin Fields. These are some guys I'm not starting over Justin Fields. I'm not starting Matthew Stafford over Justin Fields. I'm not starting Aaron Rodgers over Justin Fields. I'm not starting Daniel Jones. I'm not starting Russell Wilson. I'm not starting Kirk Cousins. I'm not starting Mariota. I'm not starting Kenny Pickett. I'm not starting any of these guys. I'm not starting Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields. I'm not starting Skylar Thompson over Justin Fields. That one should be obvious. Scary Terry or Pittman PPR. I would probably go. I still want to go Pittman over Terry. I still think you should go Pittman over Terry. Hey Sam, hope everything's well. Thanks, man. Would you trade Kamara and Olave for Debo and Najee? Oof. I don't like this one. I still think Kamara is much better than Najee, especially as a PPR league. Olave, obviously not as good as Debo. It's honestly a pretty fair trade. Obviously, you're downgrading running back, you're upgrading receiver. But I personally want to be the one upgrading running back. Running backs are harder to find in general in fantasy. Hey, Sam, Curtis or Lazard? Yeah, this one, Tab, we're going Curtis, man. You got to go Curtis. We were just talking through it. Curtis Samuel has seen so many targets this season, and these aren't like high upside targets. They're mostly at the line of scrimmage. He ranks 69th in the NFL in air yards, but he has the 11th most targets in the NFL. Meanwhile, on the other end of the spectrum, Terry McLaurin is like the exact opposite story. He's seen not as many targets as maybe we're used to for Scary Terry. He ranks 31st in targets, but 14th in air yards. So he's top 14 in air yards. That's Terry McLaurin. That's why I like him over 53.5 receiving yards tonight. I think he has a really good deep role. But yeah, Curtis Samuel, he's the 11th most targets. He's the 6th most receptions in the NFL. He's averaging over 6 catches a game, and that's great in PPR leagues, Tad. I like Curtis Samuel tonight for sure over Allen. Lazard, Goddard or Higbee? I'm going Goddard still over Higbee. And would you bench T. Higgins for Deontay if T plays? even if he plays. Yeah, I'm nervous about the T. Higgins stuff. I'm okay playing Deontay over him. I don't think, though, T is going to play. But we still have to wait and see. Mostert or Sanders? Yeah, I'd probably go Sanders ahead of Mostert. What's your outlook on Christian Kirk? Seeming to lose targets, trade him away. Again, I'm not trading away Christian Kirk. I think you got to hold on to Christian Kirk. Wentz or Zach Wilson? I would go Wentz over Wilson. I would go Justin Fields over Wentz. And I would go Justin Fields over Zach Wilson as well. All right, guys, I got 3 minutes left in this live stream. I'll try to get to as many of the Thursday night start sits as I can. As a reminder, though, as a quick reminder, because I know a lot of these Thursday night questions, they got to be answered in the next few minutes. If I don't get to your start sit question, go to the WalterPicks app. The link is in the YouTube description. The link is in the TikTok bio. You can do as many free start sit comparisons in that app as you want to. I've helped build that app over the last 3 years. It uses AI technology to give us the best fantasy projections out there. It's not as high as Justin Fields as I am tonight. I do think it's the best place to go for your start sit. So if I don't get to your start sit question again, go download the free app. There are premium subscriptions a part of the app. You don't need to do those if you don't want to. If you do want to unlock some of the premium features in the app, which are actually so very, very, very worth it, they start as little as $10 a month. All right, let's get to some of these start sit questions. Jimmy G or Fields? I'm going Fields over Jimmy G. Kirk or Samuel? I like Christian Kirk more than Curtis Samuel still. Again, what Curtis Samuel is, he's an extremely safe play, which is sometimes worth it in fantasy, depending on your matchup and how your team is constructed. Maybe you want to lock in the 10 PPR fantasy points from Curtis Samuel. Again, he's averaging over 6 catches a game. That's 6th in the NFL in receptions for Curtis Samuel through 5 weeks. But he's, I think, what we say, 49th to 59th, 69th in air yards. Nice. 69th in air yards for Curtis Samuel. I mean, he's seeing targets, but they're not like high upside targets. They're at the line of scrimmage targets. That means he's less likely to have big receiving yard days, and he's less likely to score touchdowns too. That's why I still have Terry McLaurin ranked ahead of Curtis Samuel. Who at flex? Brian Robinson, Garrett Wilson, Romeo Doubs, Alec Pierce. Yeah, this one, honestly, I think Brian Robinson's in play here. If this is PPR, I think Garrett Wilson's also in play. I would probably go with one of those two guys, though. I can't get myself to start Alec Pierce over any of these 3 players. All of these, by the way, these are 4 rookies. A-Rob, we love the rookies on your squad. 4 straight rookies here in this question. But yeah, Brian Robinson is the safest asset here because he plays running back. He's going to get probably at least 10 carries tonight. Is this a smart move? My friend is interested in Taysom Hill. My QBs this week are Dalton and Ryan. Should I trade him Taysom for Jimmy G and then put Duvernay flex instead of Thielen? I don't know what Duvernay and Thielen have to do with the question. I think that's a whole separate question, Kylo, going on a little bit of a rant here. But no, I actually think you keep Taysom. I think you should get more for Taysom than just Jimmy G. I guess if it's a super flex league, it's potentially worth it. But how much better is Jimmy G than Dalton and Ryan? I guess he's better than both, but not that much better. I would play Thielen over Duvernay still, I think. Should I trade Jamar Chase and Gordon for CD and Monty? No, I would not do that. I would definitely not do that. Montgomery or Hunt? I'm okay going Montgomery over Kareem Hunt this week. Terry or Raheem at flex? I would go Terry over Raheem at flex if it's PPR. Pittman or Samuel? I'd go Pittman over Samuel. Rondale or Brian Robinson? That one is very close, too. I think we might be getting a joined, maybe live from the stadium here. We'll see. I can hear you. Wow, we are live. We are live at the game on the TikTok Live. We're live on YouTube as well. If you're watching live on YouTube, come to the TikTok Live. We have a live look at the field on the live stream right now. Wow. Enjoy the game, man. Absolutely insane. We got a live look at the game on the TikTok Live. Love to see that. Love to see our creators out there in the flesh. Gabe Davis or Curtis Samuel. I would lean towards, honestly, you can't bench Gabe Davis this week against the Falcons. Against the Chiefs. You can't bench Gabe Davis against the Chiefs. And that game is just too much shootout potential. Sam, help. I got you. Curtis Samuel or Kenneth Walker. Yeah, got to go Kenneth. I think you got to go Kenneth over Curtis Samuel. I'm not going to lie. I'm very excited about Kenneth Walker. I would probably start him over David Montgomery as well. But there is some risk with Kenneth because we're talking about Pete Carroll here. He could easily give DJ Dallas like 40% of that backfield. I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked if he did that. But yeah, I still think Kenneth over Curtis tonight. And yeah, it's close. I would be playing Jeff Wilson over Scary Terry as well. Jeff Wilson's seen pretty elite usage in a very, very good run first offense. So yeah, I do like Jeff Wilson probably a little bit more than Scary Terry again, but I like Scary Terry tonight too. In a PPR league, I don't think you'd be crazy to start Scary Terry over Jeff. Honestly, if it's PPR, maybe you do go Mcclorn over Jeff. If it's not a full PPR league, though, probably not. By the way, not only has Dan Campbell not ever won a road game as a head coach, but Carson Wentz has never lost a Thursday night game. He's 6-0 on Thursday night. Will that trend continue tonight? I don't think so. I'm taking the Bears actually in this game. I'm not buying into silly trends like that because every game is unique. But I do think that's a pretty insane stat. And again, going back to my free prop before we wrap up the stream, I like Scary Terry tonight over 53.5 receiving yards. By the way, for whoever I just told to bench Jeff Wilson, look, I think Mcclorn could hit this prop, and you still wanted to start Jeff Wilson, who could still have 100 rushing yards and a touchdown like he did last week. So yeah, I still like the start choice there. I'm starting Fields tonight in a bunch of situations. I'm starting him in one of my high-stakes leagues over Russell Wilson. And I also have Derek Carr on that team, and obviously he's on bye. I'm starting over Mariota. I'm starting him over Mariota and Brissett 100%. B-Rob or Curtis? Yeah, I'm going Curtis Samuel over B-Rob. Curtis Samuel or Jacoby Myers. This week I'd go Curtis just because of the Bailey Zappi situation. I'm okay going Curtis. But once Mac Jones is back, I mean, guys, Jacoby Myers quietly having a complete breakout season. I know he's missed 2 games, but he's 8th in fantasy points per game. Jacoby Myers averaging 17 PPR fantasy points per game this season. Brian Robinson or A.J. Dillon? I still like A.J. Dillon more than Brian Robinson. I'm not losing hope yet for A.J. Dillon. I know a lot of people have, but I'm not. A.J. Dillon or Drake London at flex, I'd probably go Drake. We got time for 2 more questions. B-Rob or Zeke? Yeah, this one's actually really tough. I think I would still go Zeke personally. Again, the usage for Zeke has actually been good. Like, as good as you were hoping for. Usage, at least. 22 carries last week for Zeke. 19 carries, 2 targets the week before that. So back-to-back weeks now where Zeke has at least 20 opportunities, 20 touches. But also back-to-back weeks under 12 points. He does have a game over 15 points this season. Yeah, honestly, again, looking like what's the upside for Zeke? If they're not going to be able to score touchdowns against the Eagles, I think, honestly, after just looking at these numbers again, the volume's there for Zeke. I bet Zeke touches the ball more than Brian Robinson, and Brian Robinson still scores more fantasy points than Zeke. So yeah, I'm changing my mind on this one, Max. Last second here, I'm going Brian Robinson. Hey Sam, with Christian Kirk being a high volume guy and Gabe Davis being TD dependent, would you start Gabe Davis out of the 2? Yeah, I still think you got to start Gabe like this week. And again, I just gave my whole take about I like Christian Kirk a lot. Rest of season, I like him this week too. I like trading away Gabe Davis in general. But you might want to wait one more week. Again, because this game against the Chiefs, man, again, like this could be one of these insane games that we look back on, and this final score is like 40-40, or 50-50, or even more. I mean, with these 2 offenses, there's games where the Bills' offense just cannot be stopped. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. That's my time. I'll be back live as always Sunday morning. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching live on YouTube. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, we have TikTok live subscriptions now. You get a ton of cool features with the TikTok live subscriptions. Please try it out. It starts for, I think, as little as $5 a month, and you basically auto get your questions started. You auto get your questions answered on the live streams. But there'll also be times where only the TikTok live subscribers can comment. I think a lot more cool features like that coming as well. And also, again, if I didn't get your start sit, check out the WalterPicks app. That is the best place to get your start sit answers for free. And I'll answer this last one on YouTube Live. Definitely starting Chris Godwin over Curtis Samuel. Have a good night, guys. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Thank you so much for spending some time with me tonight. Again, I'll be back live Sunday morning.